I am your public school, a 200-year-old experiment that has given America the strongest economy in world history.
I am 88,000 buildings in more than 14,000 districts, and I'm as diverse as this great country.
Each year I embrace more than 48 million children. For most of them, I am their only hope for future success.
I represent homeschooling at its best, for I am the home school of 10 million latchkey children.
Yes, my Carters have known random acts of violence, yet the FBI says a child is safer in my arms than he or she is at home.
When the buses roll up, my doors open to all children of all levels of ability, the gifted, the average, and the developmentally disabled.
I enroll more than 9 million youth for whom English is a second language. They speak more than 400 languages. What other institution would embrace them as I have?
Some of you would judge me by test scores, but I would remind you that a test measures only one dimension of a student's development, only in that subject, on that day, and depending on whether that student tests well.
I must tell you that No Child Left Behind tests don't include foreign language, music, art, drama, history, government, and vital extracurriculars.
My SAT, math, and science test scores are higher than in the past 3 decades, and my ACT scores are as strong as ever despite a doubling of the number of test takers, and that includes a 30% increase in minorities.
Parents send me children who are unwanted, unwashed, unloved. My dirty little secret is that many of the 11% of children who drop out are the products of poor parenting. Some are strung out on drugs and alcohol. Some are abused and neglected.
If some of the students fail, it isn't for lack of trying by the administration, teachers, and support staff who are among the most dedicated but lowest paid in the industrial democracies of the world. Latest figures show America is 8th in K-12 funding and 22nd in teacher pay among industrialized nations.
The miracle is that my doors are open to all children, and many of them are reached, not by textbooks, but by educators who know there is more to a child's life than memorizing fact and figures. For thousands of little kids, the only hug they get is at school.
Some say that private school tuition is less costly than funding a student in public school. Not true. Considering I am required to provide special education, counseling, career tech, dropout prevention, bilingual education, student transportation, health and psychological programs, security, and numerous other programs based on both state and federal mandates.
It is painful to be accused of failing minority children. I am trying my hardest to reach all students. My plea for more early childhood education goes unheeded, yet billions of dollars are earmarked for more tests under No Child Left Behind. This opens the door for private tutoring, which is a new billion-dollar business.
Each year, more than 30% of students eat their only hot meal of the day in my cafeterias. Thousands of poor children find decent clothing in school closets filled by faculty, staff, and PTAs. Teachers spend an average of $486 of their own money for basics like workbooks and pencils for needy children.
Teamwork and sportsmanship are enduring principles that millions of our graduates have translated into successful careers and successful families. Some would mock our athletic programs, yet for many youngsters, our coaches are their only male role models.
No school prayer. I wish you could hear the thousands of them whispered each day from students and faculty in my buildings. I am passionately committed to the belief every child brings different gifts. I alone welcome those children. I play no favorites. My success speaks for itself. America is 3rd in the world in college graduation rates. Nearly 25% graduate with a 4-year degree or more. Tens of thousands come from abroad to benefit from the finest higher education system in the world.
Some say I should prepare more students for college, as though college is for everyone. No other nation in the world has a finer career and technical education system, from medical technology schools to avionics and computer training. Don't look down your nose at plumbers whose average wage is over $56,000 a year, or heating and air conditioning technicians that make an average salary of $80,000 per year.
Who says there are no heroes today? Did you see the biographies of the rescuers who died in the World Trade Center tragedy? Firefighters, police officers, union members, emergency workers, 90% of them public school graduates. Those soldiers on the front line represent our public schools. I have always provided the men and women who'd fight our wars and defend our shores.
One of my most precious possessions is more than 6 million special education youngsters. I alone address their needs. If your heart ever needs a lift, spend time with a person with Down syndrome who is gainfully employed thanks to public education.
I suffer the slings and arrows from those who stress my shortcomings in order to defame public education. Yet my students outscore students in the average charter school. Repeated studies show that when students are matched in family structure, family income, and family education attainment, public school students do as well or better than parochial school students.
Thanks to the vision of our forebears, America had a 100-year head start on every other nation in creating universal, free public education. Today, I am still the finest system in the industrial world.
I leave no child behind, but some of you would dim my lights, leaving in the shadows the poor, the blind, the lame, and the developmentally disabled. The Government Accountability Office says that 1/3 of my buildings are in desperate need of repair. 1/3 of my buildings lack wiring sufficient to teach computer science, yet no help is forthcoming.
Do as you will, but as for me, I will stand proudly in my neighborhood, embracing the finest educators, administrators, and support personnel in the world, dedicated to helping our children realize their own dream.
Well, what I really wanted to do was show that the public school that everybody drives by and everybody's an expert on is a living organism. It's a living organism. And I believe that with all the fervor of my soul. And so I sat down at the computer one day and wrote the entire thing. That's very unusual for a writer. But it just flowed because it was based on all of my knowledge on public education, what the shortcomings were and the long suits, and frankly, it's a living organism. And the schools face a terrible amount of unfunded mandates. The security, for example, is a big problem today. Special ed, 6.1 million kids. English as a second language, 11.4 million kids. 2 million of them, according to the Department of Education last year, didn't speak a word of English. So what a challenge those teachers and those administrators face. And you know what? They get up every day and go to work to meet that challenge.
One last question.